All right, let's get to the NFL because Micah Parsons has not stopped chirping since the season ended. Of course, it ended in an embarrassing home loss to the Green Bay Packers. But good news, Dallas Cowboy fans. Micah Parsons is giving his input on what the Dallas Cowboys need to do specifically on the defensive. All right, so interesting that as he's handicapping the Cowboy needs this offseason, he didn't talk about Dak Prescott. He didn't talk about their inability to run the ball successfully and with any kind of continuity. He talked about what they need and what they don't have on his side of the ball.
Smart.
Which I find very interesting because that guy's an all-world player, and yet he's acknowledging that it's the Dallas Cowboy defense that held them back and was a problem in that playoff game, and really all year long, I suppose, for the Dallas Cowboys. How about that?
From that aspect, I thought it was smart. But they really was forced to use a lot of their DBs and put them in the linebacker position to kind of have some stability. But I thought the biggest mishap was they drafted a big hog molly, if you will, old school saying, and Mozzie Smith, who was 330 pounds. They made 350 pounds. And they made him lose weight during the season where he got all the way down to 300 pounds, and they couldn't stop the run. And so, for me, it's more schematically was what they suffered. That's why Dan Quinn,
Here's one of those weird things, though. Like, look, Dan Quinn's gone, right?
Yep.
They bring in Mike Zimmer for next year. Quinn moves off, to be a head coach, obviously. He'll have another opportunity within the division. But, here's the craziest thing. We talk about this all the time on this show, and it's called accountability.
Yep.
Take some ownership of what you didn't do well. When you're the face of the Dallas Cowboys defense, and that's what Micah Parsons is, as much as Dak Prescott is the face of the Dallas Cowboy offense, wouldn't it be nice and refreshing if you just came out and said, look, I got to play better. I didn't get the job done.
That's old, Craig.
Because I went from week one when they blew out the New York Giants 40-0, and we're talking about how great the Cowboy defense is going to be and how this dude is the second coming of Lawrence Taylor. And then I watched every play, like you guys did, of every Cowboy game. And while he is a great player, and I don't want to get that twisted in this, he is a great player. There's a lot of games where he doesn't show up in the stat column at all. No assists, no pressures, no tackles. And I'm saying to myself, maybe you don't need another linebacker. Maybe you don't need the guy he's talking about on the defensive line. Maybe you just need to play better.
No, listen, I think they try to move him around. Like, I think we talked about the San Francisco game where he pretty much got beat up by Trent Williams and company. And then they tried to get him to the other side, and they moved him around. Then they got him off the ball and let him play a true linebacker position. But overall, he's right. Defensive line, they need help. And by the way, the Cowboys have invested in this defensive line since like 2022 to now. They just haven't found the right pieces in the linebacker position. They've just gotten thin. They haven't had any impact players. But I think Micah Parsons, first and foremost, he just has to go back to doing what he does really well, and that's rushing the passer. And when they needed a play to be made in that regard, he hasn't showed up on a consistent basis.
See, I don't think that he's wrong, and I don't think that you're wrong. They could use a little bit more of a sort of presence in the middle to stop the run. They could use a different linebacker. Vander Esch being hurt was a big thing that nobody talks about. It's not like a household name.
It was
that was a big deal for them, right? But what you're saying is what I really feel, Craig. Here's the thing. You're the guy. You're Micah Parsons.
Right.
You're the future Hall of Famer. You're the reason. You need a nasty interior. Be a part of the nasty interior. You need a better linebacking play. You're a linebacker.
Yeah, but he's not a big man. He's only 6 feet.
Of course not. But I'm saying, like, it sounds wrong to me to have your star player say, "Here's a laundry list of help that I need.
Why?
Here's a laundry list of places that we
watch
need to improve
quarterbacks do it all the time
for me to be successful."
Yeah, but we watch quarterbacks go out and like, "Hey, I need a receiver. I need a running back. If I had more protection." Aaron Rodgers does it all the time.
Yeah.
So we can't get mad if a star defensive lineman or star player of that defense goes, "Hey, man, you want us to go to the Super Bowl? We need some more big fellas in the middle to kind of anchor this D-line."
Well, it's interesting. Don't forget, honestly, the side part of this story is Jerry Jones saying, I'm all in for 2024. I'm not sure how that's any different for the last 30 years, in which I assume that he was all in and you didn't get to a single NFC championship game. But being all in means I don't know what, because you're coming back with 95% of the same exact roster. And the biggest change you're probably going to make for the entire offseason is the fact that you have a new defensive coordinator. I mean, that really is the biggest change. Now, yes, they will acquire hopefully some talented guys in the draft, and maybe there's a couple free agents that they bring in. But for a team that, let's be honest about it, really disappointed everybody after winning 16 straight games at home and having Jordan Love, who because of that game in the playoffs, people now think is the second coming of Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay.
I'm
not going to give him flowers.
Why? What's wrong with Jordan Love?
Because Jordan
Love, he couldn't do it and he did it.
He had 5 good games last year. Now, to be fair, they were all in the second half of the season, so everybody felt pretty good about his growth, right? But it's the Dallas Cowboys defense that made Jordan Love look like a top 5 quarterback. I mean, that's what happened. Like that, and that's why Micah Parsons is talking about, we need this, we need that, we need this, we need that. And I'm telling you right now, if I'm Jerry Jones, the real Jerry Jones, not the guy that's playing Jerry Jones now, because that's an imposter, would have been like, listen, son, we need more out of you. Because the Jerry Jones that I fell in love with would not have tolerated one of the biggest players on his team speaking publicly about what he doesn't have. He wouldn't.
Or
never.
speaking public about the conversation, because when you do that, you put a target on yourself in the locker room, right? Because if you're the guy who has the direct bridge to the owner or a GM, people start walking lightly around you, right? Because people start calling you a snitch, or the guy they have to worry about, like, hey man, is he down with us or is he down with the organization? And I valid. I love Micah Parsons and I love everything he brings to the table, but he has to go back to just being a ball player. Don't wear the GM hat because it can get you in trouble.
But they currently have down linemen and they currently have linebackers. If Craig does a podcast, he's like, well, I really wish I had a better co-host and maybe a new former football player, I'd feel a certain way.
Have you been reading my tweets?
I think you
or my private text messages. Once again, I was hoping for more. Hey there, thank you so much for watching The Carton Show. You can subscribe right here to get all the latest bits and segments from the show. And by the way, while you're at it, we have a lot of great shows on FS1, so check them out too.